All right, Quinn. So,
Hello. Hello.
all right, awesome having a little chat with you. I know I'm sort of pulling you out of, dealing with the whole Hassan problem thing with Stradivaria, I, like, so, I'm telling you, right? Sorry, this is sort of going off rant, but, you know, I feel like a lot of stuff has just sort of happened, like, I don't even know, like, how to describe it. A lot of weird stuff has almost just happened since this
Mhm.
stupid grass block war. Japrican Axis
Yeah.
falls out of all wars. Stradivaria gets absolutely nuked by Japrica, right?
hmm
President River dies. Twig, the cat of all things, gets put into power. Cat gets abused by a horse. I mean, then we go over to the other side. We have a new nation that's trying to wiggle its way out of the ground to the most literal tense. And,
Yes.
like, now we're trying to start other things. I mean, I don't know. Weird world, All right, anyways, enough with my side rant. So,
Yeah.
a few things I sort of wanted to talk to you about. It was sort of revolving. Have you been aware of our whole AVM Axis problem thing? I know you haven't. We haven't had a few meetings since my departure to Lux Sovereignty, but you're aware of the AVM Axis and their whole side with Romeo, right?
Yes. To my knowledge, it was a relations, though.
We,
So,
yeah, so that's what Fury said. However, we have evidence to suggest otherwise. I've been sending a few of my scouts to sort of try and track both avium axis and Japrican axis convoys, trade routes, that kind of stuff. I have reasons to think that they're in a little bit more than a trade alliance, but either way, they're clearly siding Romeo. And if we want Japrican access off the face of this earth, that's not going to be a good thing, We don't need any
yes.
more supply lines going into them.
It is.
First, sorry?
It is a matter of we could cut those supply lines and try and cut off that relationship early.
That's actually
Because
sort of. Sorry if
I
I'm
know it's
cutting.
strong, but
You can go here, sorry.
oh, I know it's a strong trade relation at the very least, if not more. So if we try and cut them off, and Romeo seems to be very out of wars all of a sudden, so it's making me a little curious and worried that something is happening behind the scenes with the AVM axis and the Japrican axis.
Now that you mention it, I'll get to something on that in a second if I can remember it. But sort of something I wanted to go over with you right now that is slightly more important than what they could be doing is plans actually to directly cut off the avium axis from Romeo himself, right?
hmm
So we've been focusing our entire time on the Japrican front line, Stradivaria, right?
Yes.
Merlin and all of them seem to still really want to dedicate their resources to that front line, but I have a feeling that if we start to shift our targets a little bit, move to the avium axis, besides from the mine and Furious's whole conflict thing, I have
hmm
a feeling that we might be able to get that front line to crumble so we can go directly into Japrica itself and shut down that entire alliance in Project Unity. I am going to need
And
your help, though, to try and convince the others because I am not sure if they're going to believe me there. They all seem
I, I,
very adamant on
I do
going
see
head
that.
first.
I do see that as a good alleyway that we should attack towards, and especially it seems that when Hassan, in a short time of leadership, kind of withdrew from the Japrican axis. Maybe I'm incorrect on that, but I believe that was the situation. Is he cornered Twig into pretty much dropping all friendship and alliances? So maybe that included them.
I
So
remember
it might
hearing
just be
something about
smart.
that. A few scouts came back and they mentioned something about that. Sorry if I cut you off there, but
Yeah,
um
no, it's
A few
I think it's just kind
scouts.
of like,
Go ahead.
oh, I think it's just it is unwise at this point now to continue at the Stradivaria front because they are all but gone from the Jabrican axis.
I would agree there. I would. Scouts reported saying that they tried dropping alliances, but Japrican front lines are still stationed outside of Stradivaria, so I don't know what the conflict is there. But we'll have to wait and see if they back off finally. But that could be a very good reason. We could have a direct way straight to Jeffdonia now. Either way,
Yes, I don't know where Jefdonia or all but Jabrica. I don't know where any of those houses are or anything.
they're sort of north of Stradivaria, if that makes sense. Either way, one thing that I think might be a good way to put avium access not only at jeopardy, but to maybe cut off all ties without completely destroying them is you're gonna have to be fine with this, but I have an idea. Since you are the closest person we have to the Lux sovereignty, basically the capital of avium access to my awareness. If we use Archaea to get a direct route into the Lux sovereignty, we might be able to get the avium axis to finally cut ties that they have with Romeo. Of course.
I it is a one with the portals. It is a one-way streak. They cannot join in, but obviously I'm not that far away. I'd be willing to, but my caveat is must be used just for the Jabrakian access. I don't want no part of your holy war and your religious beliefs getting mingled in Archaea.
This doesn't have anything to do with my religious beliefs. Believe me, I'm trying to keep those off to the side, but Furious keeps putting them front and center. But either way,
Okay, then yes, I would be fine with Archaea being used to cut off this supply line and hopefully take over the Avium access.
awesome. That also brings me to another point. If you don't mind me asking, I would. You see, the city states we are willing to put what's left of our army at the front lines. However, we cannot put all of it forward as we have our own internal conflicts that we're sort of dealing with, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
TAOM can't dedicate all their resources either, neither can Kilo. And Nvidia's been incognito since their whole revolution thing. So we may need you to dedicate more resources than you typically would, both militarily and physically, in this little conflict, if that is fine with
And
you.
and see that's where I kind of fall short because we my nation has never really focused on the material hmm, the army side of things, so we kind of are lacking in that department. Of course, I'll put forth with it being so close to home as much as I can, and I would be fine with that. But I cannot promise it would be good enough for to take down a big name like the Avium Axis
That is exactly
slash the Lux.
why you have the assistance of me here, buddy. I will be able to dedicate a few of things and maybe a few generals. But, you know, that also reminds me, you see, to my awareness, you've been doing a lot of experimentations and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be completely wrong here. Was one of those experimentations to try and find almost a super soldier type thing? Would that perhaps be ready to be deployed? Maybe, possibly.
It's still in testing. It's not the greatest as of yet. We have, without getting into too much detail, it doesn't take and it causes major backfire. And I'm working with, funny enough, working with Ren of Wavecrest to, she may come by and hopefully agree to be a part of the experiment. So we could see what comes of that.
I'm not sure. All right. I'm not sure how much I like the communication with Rin, just, because she's all that avium
Yes,
access
yes.
stuff, but if you feel like it might be best, I'm not gonna bother with your whole experimentation things. That is you and you alone.
Well,
Um,
between me and you, Connor, if I can convince Rin to do it, it might not result in the best outcome for her and might potentially knock her out of the fight between us.
on second thought, I love that idea. You
See,
know?
it is very cautionary of what I'm doing as of now. So it's kind of, I just need her consent to do it. And once I get that, she might not be in the game anymore.
I sort of like that idea. I'm gonna be honest. And second, I was skeptical, but you know what? You've managed to convince me that that might be a good idea, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's tough because of Twig and Stradivaria with that whole me and Ren helped him out, especially with Hassan. So, but I can easily set that aside if it means furthering my experiment, furthering the super soldier.
It definitely would.
It
It'd give you the
casualties are
resources.
casualties. Yeah. So
Also,
it'd be the
sorry, continue.
it would just kind of be the perfect idea. Gets I get further data, we potentially have a enemy knocked out.
Exactly. I love that idea. Anyways, now that I'm remembering this again, and before I forget again, you mentioned something about how Chapter can access and potentially not Wavium, apologies, Avium access, close words,
Mm-hmm.
how they may be focusing on something internal.
Mm-hmm.
This might be just
I
down your alley, actually. So, my scouts, we've intercepted a few things going between Japrican Axis, Avium Axis, even Stradivaria. Stradivaria seems to be very big in this for whatever reason. They believe they've unlocked the potential to bring someone back from the dead.
I've heard rumors of that, and uh, from what I've heard, it's not very stable.
That's what I've heard as well. I've heard rumors that it's basically the same as trying to go in and swan dive into the anomaly, right? Basically
Yeah.
the same as that. Um, they say that they can do it through some magical golden totem.
Hmm. That's weird. I will have to look into that. That
I'll
is
believe
some.
that for a second if it's between you and me, but that's just my own thoughts.
Maybe I could convince Wig to talk about it because I know, especially after River's death, they seem to be in a very high emotions state and were willing to do anything for great lengths to get him back. So
That would be actually why it would that would be a good reason why we'd be going in and out of Stradivaria. So good
yeah,
thinking, sir.
thank you.
Anyways, sort of final point, one that I might not bring up at the most recent Lucis Praesidia meeting, but something I just sort of want to at least mention to someone outside of the city states. You know the whole gala thing, right? That whole scientific convention thing that's going to be going on at the anomaly. You know that?
Yes.
I have reasons to believe that that's rigged to somehow go wrong. My
I
scouts have been going in and out. Sorry, I just want to get this point off. My scouts been going in and out of there. I've even looked at it myself. The glass that contains the anomaly looks like it's been tampered with. And
hmm,
it looks like the surrounding area around it has also been tampered with. I'm no genius, but I believe someone's planning to do something, right?
that yes, that's maybe even trying to take us out in one sweep.
That makes sense. And it'd be the perfect opportunity. I mean, Japrican Axis reps would be there, Lucis Praesidia reps, Con reps. I think even all of Avium Axis is supposed to be there. It'd be one fell swoop.
Yes, but do you think whoever is setting up this gala has control over the anomaly? Because that's all the major world powers that I know of.
If our
All of them just
experiments
gone?
are anything to go by, no mortal being is able to control that thing. They get controlled by it instead. The only reason I wasn't is because my next point, the flame and any other god has the ability to maybe possibly beat that thing into the ground. You know, I
Hmm.
don't want to bring religious beliefs too far into Archaea just because I know of your whole belief system, but one of the points I made to Firis actually was didn't mention this to anyone. I tried getting him to disconnect from the Jamprican Axis in hopes he would use his god in combination with the powers of the flame to potentially beat the anomaly into the ground, since that's something no one's tried yet. And he declined on that term. So, this is far fetched, I know. I think, partially for that reason, the Avium Axis has something to do with the tampering of the anomaly.
That hmm, that is quite concerning for us, especially. I have to, unfortunately, despite my opinions of your beliefs, I have to agree that there is higher powers in play with uh, all that is going on in here. Um, I I have to agree with you to a certain extent. I mean, science has clearly been proven wrong time and time again, but it's every time something like you, I believe you've said you've heard the voices and you can understand the anomaly to a greater extent than any of us can. So I will have
That's
to
I'll have to correct you
continue.
there. I can't I'm one of the few people who've never heard the voices. However, I am the actually to my belief, I'm the only person on the entire server who has ever had a unique experience with it, that there was, as I had described it in the time, an internal conflict brewing inside of me when I was inside the anomaly.
Hmm. So, despite everything my nation is set up for against, it seems that it's coming ahead with the anomalies. That is something we need to look into, and I'd be willing just this once to go down the path of religion if it means we can get rid of this thing.
Might be one of the few ways, but I don't know. There's this thing's been known to defy reality multiple times. They could defy the defiable. Who knows? Anyways, that's not really my point. My point was I don't trust anyone going to that gala. You know, hear me out here. What I want to do at the gala is I want to basically rig this thing to explode. If one sign of trouble goes wrong, I want to have stuff set in place that to try to how do I word this? To try and eliminate whoever might be the one tampering with the anomaly, but to also make sure that innocent lives are saved, if that makes any form of sense.
I can see that. My only problem is explosions. If it is just, what if one of us decides to go to the gala, then we could potentially get harmed in the explosion. It
Unf-
just it,
I've thought about that, but unfortunately, I don't there's not much of an other way to really go about this. I feel like, I mean, shoot, I mean, I guess Merlin could try and come up with something, but I just want to have something set in place. I mean,
I instead of us going there, like you said earlier, how we'll have a bunch of representations. We try and get all the other major world leaders there and just the Lucius Paradisia send all of their reps. So that way we'll lose a couple of well-known people, but we won't lose any leaders per se. And one of us could be off further to the sidelines, like you, since you were setting up the explosives, to potentially rig it from a remote area.
I like that idea. I
I
don't
mean,
know. It's
I,
just food for thought. I'm not 100% sure if I'll go through with it, but
I mean, yeah, I think this gala seems to be coming at a suspicious time, and especially around the anomaly, which was thought to agree to be left alone with and not cause any problems or tampering with it, because that seems to only anger it further.
yeah.
And I do agree, it's something is happening, especially with the avium axis, and we need to nip that as quick as we can.
Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got left for now. I mean, you have anything you want to mention before the next council meeting, or?
Um, I suppose, as much as I would not like to do it, we need to play it at an angle with Twig. They are easily up for talking and explaining. They are not in the best mental state to run a nation, it seems. So, to we need to look into also use Stradivaria against the Japrican Axis and not just try and liberate it as we have been so far.
I agree with that. I have a feeling Twig was not a good replacement for River. River was someone who was willing to lead a nation despite of anything. He was a strong man, and the Stradivarians murdered him for that. Twig is the opposite of that. He's don't ever tell him I said this, but he's not exactly a strong person, so to say. I don't believe he's fit to wield a nation, and I agree on the part he could be very easily manipulated. We've seen this before already. I don't know what
See,
happened in Stradivaria between him and Hassan. I don't believe I ever will, but it
and
sounds like
see, the thing is, Connor, is that River put on had a mask of a strong man, but he was very easily manipulated. I mean, look at how he joined Japrican Axis in the first place. He's just essentially bullied into doing it, worried over his nation. He was a very cautious leader to the point where it hurt him, and it seems that Stradivaria doesn't have that many strong leaders, as one might say.
you see, but River was willing to sacrifice himself for this nation. I don't see
That
Twig
is
doing.
true.
I don't see Twig doing that. That is something
I
I can never see Twig doing.
Especially as of now, I don't see Twig doing it. I don't see Twig even running the nation for a while.
Yes.
So they seem to be at a low point. It is something that we could look into, something that we could potentially use to further our goals.
I like that idea. How I just don't think the city states will be able. I can talk with him, but city states won't be able to dedicate too many more resources to that line. So, if we can figure out something quick, that would be great. Would you have anything
Oh,
else you would like to mention, or?
I mean, I know you're fighting two fronts or multiple fronts as of right now. And if you ever have any potential prisoners of war that you would like to mysteriously disappear, I could use a few more test subjects.
I might be able to help you with that. I may be
And
able to do just that.
I think that'd be a good helping hand situation with you. But that is all I have, Connor.
Yep. That's all I got as well. Was awesome meeting with you, Quinn. And Archaea, it's looking good under your leadership.
Thank you. And it's quite the weird leadership. I mean, it's not the best. The thing about Archaea is that it's not a very. My leadership is a. It's not fake but I am just the head spokesperson, I should say, much like you are with our alliance. I'm not the true leader. We don't have true leadership here. It's just figureheads of this is the spokesperson for this. This is who you talk to for that. So it's growing, but it's not under a distinct leadership. And I feel like that is something that could unfortunately be exploited, but that's not something I'm wanting to change my nation for.
That makes sense. I mean, it seems to be working for you so far, so I'm not gonna judge. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. If we ain't got anything else, I'm going to make my way back to the city-states as things continue to brew. I will be in contact and potentially sending you a few test subjects. And
Yes.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Connor.
Yep. Thank you for yours. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you at the next meeting.
You too.